I, male 50, have been married for almost 20 years. I've always been a simple, down-to-earth person, and my wife, Becky, female 45, is quite different from me in that regard. She tends to love exploring new places, going off the beaten path, and talking to new people. I, on the other hand, am more of a homebody and find everything I want within the confines of our hometown. Although our personalities are different, I used to think we had enough compromises about each other's lifestyles. I do admit the biggest sacrifice Becky has made for our relationship is staying with me in our relatively sleepy hometown in Wisconsin while I worked on my business. I had my roots there, and I knew that uprooting everything would harm me and my business contacts. Obviously, this was something we had discussed even when things had gotten serious, and she was initially hesitant. I completely respected this, but she later changed her mind as she wanted to be with me. It's been 20 years of marriage, and I've tried my best to spice up things for Becky. We often go on trips abroad, even if I find them a little confusing, go to various cultural events, and even helped her set up her art studio as a project. However, since I'm nearing my retirement age, I wanted to give back to Becky and also have an exciting life after I hang up my hat. This involved a lot of planning, and I decided on a bunch of things. First, I had to choose a successor for my business. We never had kids, but I had an amazing mentee who was basically like a son to me, so that solved the problem for me. I would stay on as an advisor, and that also gave me the freedom to live wherever I wanted. Next was to sort out my finances and figure everything out. I took a look at everything, calculating how much we'd need to live comfortably, and had a good nest egg ready. The next thing, and most important, was to sell off our house in Wisconsin and move to Becky's dream location, Spain. This was my biggest move and something I had spent years planning. Being with Becky had made me a lot more adventurous, and even though I was still a very shy person who loved my home, I was willing to give back to my wife for everything she had done for me. Due to that, I had been secretly speaking to a bunch of homeowners in Barcelona, talking about purchasing an apartment there, and had a killer deal on an amazing home there. I planned to tell Becky about it on her birthday, and if she was excited to move ahead, we'd start our lives anew in Spain. The party was a blast, and I spoke to Becky in private as we were clearing up and showed her the pictures of the apartment I had chosen. It was exactly like she had imagined it, and she was super excited about the whole escapade. I was relieved that she found it so nice because I had put a lot of effort into planning it out. I even had a little notebook where I used to jot down all the things she liked and try to incorporate that into the apartment. Once I knew she was excited about the move, I called my Spanish agent and sealed the deal. This was about 11 months ago. We then spent that time tying up loose ends at home, putting our property on sale, although we ended up renting it as of now, and informing our friends and family. When the day of the flight came, both of us were getting super excited. After we landed and set up everything, I was exhausted and decided to go into our bedroom and take a nap. However, I hadn't fully dozed off yet when I heard Becky speaking to someone in the living room. Curiosity got the better of me since I was pretty sure I'd heard my name, and I decided to get my butt off the bed and go listen to what she was saying. Everything I heard then just threw me off. From what I could make out, my wife was on a call with her best friend from back home, Leslie, and she was talking about the move. She said, "I can't believe I'm here. It feels so freeing. I'll be honest, this is the only good thing OP has done in all the years of our marriage. I knew if I stuck with him, it would pay off. My mom always told me to settle down with a stable guy, but he's too stable. He does come with perks. Did you see my new handbag?" Cue some laughter from her and Leslie. Yeah, The men here are handsome as all hell. I don't know. Maybe if I got him to move here, I could get him to agree to a threesome. I felt so betrayed. I wanted to tear myself away from the door, but I had to keep listening. She went on and on. Ugh, I don't know what to tell you, Leslie. I feel like I've been trapped for all these years. Yeah, I was in love, but OP is just so boring. I don't think I felt anything for him in years. Do you remember Dave? I worked with him. Yeah, I like Dave. I think he was more of a man than OP was. Let's see, at least for now, I get to live in Spain. I couldn't take it anymore and walked out of the room, making a big ruckus. She jerked up and cut the call with a quick, "Call you back, yeah?" I innocently asked her what she was talking about, and she had the nerve to tell me that she was just gushing to Leslie about Spain. I was seething inside, but I wanted to teach her a lesson first and foremost. I couldn't believe the audacity in the way she spoke about me. And from the snippet I heard about this Dave character, she probably had an affair when she was working in her art studio. I acted fast and thankfully had already made some contacts in Spain due to my house shopping. Most importantly, I knew my real estate agent would be able to help with the plan I had in mind. The next day, I woke up a little early and got everything set up. The plan was to have an open house ready and waiting to take Becky by surprise. I would slowly reveal to her that I had a change of heart and was going to sell the Spanish apartment and we'd go back to Wisconsin. It worked like a dream. My agent had gotten a bunch of his friends to act as potential buyers, and we'd started creating a ruckus around 8 a.m. When Becky came out of her room, she was surprised to see a bunch of people talking about tiling, estate prices, and everything else. Looking her dead in the eye, I said, "Oh, sorry to wake you like this, hun. Something has come up. I don't enjoy this apartment after all, so I'm going to sell it and move back to the States. You want to help me make our guests feel at home?" She immediately threw a fit and asked me, "Why are you doing this? It was my dream to live here." I replied, "Oh, I'm boring. I'm too stable. I'd never be like Dave, right? Who's Dave, by the way?" Realization finally struck her, and she dropped to her knees in front of a crowd of strangers and began to ask me for forgiveness. I said no and casually walked out of the apartment, telling her that I'd booked her a ticket back to the U.S. She followed me out, still crying and begging, causing the neighbors to get involved. Some people started recording, a few people tried to calm her down, and yet others threatened to call the police. All the societal pressure had finally made her shut up, and I told her to pack her bags and be ready to leave by the next morning. She asked me what I planned to do, and I said, file for divorce, of course. After that, I'll go back to the States and live there. Except I didn't want to go back to the States. I had changed during my marriage with Becky, and the silver lining was that I was a lot more adventurous. So I was going to stay in this apartment by myself. However, I was going to pretend to sell it off, and she'd believe me after the amazing job the agent did, to make sure that even if the divorce proceedings went south, she'd never come after my property here. I went back to the U.S. for a brief period to see the divorce through. It passed through, and although I have to pay some alimony, she didn't ask for any property in the divorce settlement. Since I just had Becky's phone call and not a lot of evidence, she did cover her tracks. Alimony was still a thorn in my side. Becky found herself some good lawyers. I'll give her that. But the real fun started after I was finally in the clear. Well, you should be able to guess it, right? I began posting tons of pictures about my life in Spain, complete with pictures of the apartment. It was a perfect revenge, and I know Becky would hear about it from our mutual friends. She texted me a few weeks after this and called it a low blow. I'll be honest, I'm only posting to get back at her, as the wounds are still fresh for me. But is this an unhealthy way to go? Update 1. I heard that Becky back in the States was sniffing around for a way to sue me for not disclosing my assets, but I don't think that will fly in court. At the same time, I'm glad to say that she's absolutely miserable right now, and since she coasted off of my money for 20 years, there's no way she has the luxuries she did previously. Update 2. I have read a lot of your comments and I've decided to stop making these posts on social media. I think I should focus less on getting back at Becky and more on enjoying my new life. However, losing a relationship of 20 years still hurts, so I think I will try and find therapy to heal. Update 3. It's been a few months of life in Barcelona and I'm acclimatizing well. To be honest, I haven't heard about what my ex-wife is doing in ages and I prefer it that way. I guess it's time for a new chapter. NTA, and if you got that much from one phone call, I'm willing to bet Becky's done a lot worse. Thank God you found an easy way out. If you can, try and reduce your alimony payment somehow. NTA, Becky took away 20 good years of your life. She wanted you for your money in the end and was too much of a coward to separate. The fake open house idea was hilarious. And I'm sure that put a shock in her system. Next story. So I, 31, female, find it kind of annoying that mother-in-law always brings over soda for her to drink for herself when she's invited for dinner. She doesn't even offer to share. But that is not my issue with this. We have water, lime water, tea, coffee, and sparkling water to drink, and I think it is impolite not just to drink what you are offered as a guest. I don't buy soda for everyday meals, but would buy it if I invited guests over for a birthday or some other celebration, and I don't think guests should require soda for meals on a Tuesday evening. And I feel it is kind of offensive that she feels the need to bring her own soda. WIBTA if I told her how I feel? When we visit mother-in-law, she never offers water with the food. Every meal is served with soda and beer, or sometimes wine. I don't bring my own water even though I would prefer water with my meal. I drink some soda. Edit. Thank you all for the judgment. I'm TA and will not bring it up to her. I do, however, feel there may be some cultural differences here. Where I'm from, soda is not a normal everyday drink. As a child, I was allowed soda maybe 6 to 7 times a year, like for Christmas and birthdays. Today, it's normally served to children and adults who don't drink alcohol and others would get beer or wine. And I would feel the same if a guest brought beer or wine for themselves to a dinner on a weekday. That's why I don't feel like serving it on a Tuesday, and I still feel like her bringing her own soda is implying I should be serving soda, which makes me feel like a bad host. But you all are right, it does not hurt anyone that she wants soda and brings her own. Some of you seem to think this is about health. It is not. I'm not concerned for her health. I don't want to control what she drinks, but I did want to tell her that she made me feel not good enough. But thanks to you all, I will just swallow that feeling and avoid talking about the issue. Also, some of you asked about children. There are no children involved in this. YTA, please, for the love of God, get a grip on your main character syndrome. It's not some personal affront to you that she likes to drink soda at dinner. And honestly, since you know she likes to drink soda at dinner, and instead of just buying some for her to have when she's over there, you've decided to die on the I won't buy soda, but also you can't bring your own hill. So you're double the a-hole. This is an issue entirely of your own creation, and it only lives inside your mind, not the real world. Please get a grip. Your mother-in-law is an adult woman who can choose what she wants to drink at any given time without your approval. YTA, you don't drink soda, so she brings her own. I don't drink soda either, but I don't ban it from my house. Maybe if my kids were older and were going to want some for themselves every time. Have you ever asked for a glass of water or helped yourself to one at their house? This whole question is just weird. Sounds like you don't like your mother-in-law and are looking for things to complain about. YTA, she wants soda and she's not putting you out by bringing her own. Plus, this isn't a guest you're having over once, but a family member you seemingly have over often. It's actually kind of rude you're not more accommodating. And good Lord, you're an adult. If you want water with your dinner, ask. If they don't have filtered water, bring your own. Next story. I, 38, female, have a daughter, 8, female, who is a shy, bookish introvert. She isn't popular and she would prefer to read at the library than go to a big, giant social event. She has 4 really very good friends in her class of roughly 30 kids. I'll add that some of her classmates are not very nice to her. So her birthday is coming up, and she specifically asked me if we could do something for her and her 4 friends. This is what has been going on since she was young. We've never thrown an actual giant Instagram birthday party. We're not poor by any means, but we're not rich, and we live in a small apartment, so what we'd normally do is me, her, and her 4 friends would go out for ice cream and a paint-your-own ceramic activity or something like that. However, word got out that my daughter is having a party, and I got an email from her teacher where she essentially called me out for my lack of inclusivity. She said that she had gotten complaints from other kids in her class that my daughter was being a bully for only inviting certain people, re her close friends. And the teacher told me that now I had to invite the whole class. I cannot afford to host a party for 30 kids or bring 30 kids to an activity. I also was afraid of my daughter getting bullied at her own party and wanted this to be a safe space for her. So I politely told the teacher this and explained that it wasn't even a party but a get-together for her closest friends. Now I'm getting loads of angry emails from parents of kids who weren't invited, asking me why not and pressuring me to invite their kids. One even accused me of being discriminatory against their son because he has asthma. I've had 10 angry emails, and I'm starting to think maybe I should invite all the kids in the spirit of inclusivity and have it in a park or something. AITA? Edit. Thank you for all your wonderful comments. I've sent an email to the principal asking for an explanation with a threat to take this to the school board. I will not give in, and I'm going to make sure my daughter and her friends have the lovely day they deserve, in peace and alone. The entitlement of those parents is wild. It's a private event. They can't bully their way into it. It's her party and she can have whoever she likes. How dare her teacher contact you and demand you invite other kids? I would seriously contact the school about that. It's massively overstepping. For the love of everything that's decent, don't change her party to be inclusive of Suki classmates. If you do, it shows your daughter you're more concerned with a bunch of entitled little shits than your own kid. You're NTA for excluding kids, but you WBTAH if you change her party to accommodate them and their entitled whining. Reply to Opinion 1. I did some research after one comment asked if it was school policy, and to my surprise, some schools do have an official policy where to avoid exclusion, a child must invite everyone in their class to their birthday party. I'm wondering if her school has this and why it was never enforced before. Could it be because she was more subtle about it, or perhaps the problem is the teacher? I will keep doing research. The parent that accused you of discriminating about their child because they have asthma is just too much. Sorry you have to deal with this bullshit, OP. Personally, I'd also be writing a pretty strongly worded letter to the teacher regarding fostering inclusivity in the classroom, seeing as kids are being mean to your daughter. And I'd be freaking furious they had the audacity to tell you you have to invite all the kids and contemplating making a complaint because that's also entirely inappropriate. Good for you for upholding your daughter's wishes. I'm sure she'll have an amazing day. NTA. Next story. I, 42, female, have 3 children, 14 female, 8 male, and 2 female. Last year, our house flooded during a storm, and it's still taking time to get everything repaired. My children and I are staying with my brother until we can return back home. It's been an adjustment for everybody, but we're managing. My younger daughter has her moments, but she was really too little to remember any of the actual flooding. My son was pretty anxious in storms for a few months, but has gotten over it as he realizes that what happened to us is relatively rare for the area. Initially, my older daughter was doing okay, but now that it's around the year anniversary, she's gotten a little more worried. The thing about my daughter is that, unlike her siblings, she's been afraid of thunderstorms her entire life, and it was actually kind of odd how not afraid she's been for this past year. I thought she had just aged out of fear. Now that it's returned, I figure that last year must have been a fluke, and she's gotten back to being her normal self. So when my daughter came to me a few nights ago stating that she thinks that she has PTSD, I started laughing. I wasn't laughing at her. I was laughing because it's absurd. None of us have PTSD. And I can say as her mother that her current fear levels are not a product of any PTSD, but simply a return to her pre-flooding fear of thunderstorms. However, ever since our conversation, my daughter's refused to talk to me. I confronted her about her rudeness and told her that though I understand that she's afraid of thunderstorms and has been forever, she doesn't really have PTSD. She'll age out of her fear in time, and I think she can get over most of it when we can go back home. She told me that I'm mean and don't listen to her. I don't think I'm terribly mean, but my brother told me that I could have been nicer, so I figured that I would ask. AITA? YTA, you are in no way qualified to determine whether your daughter had PTSD. She experienced a flood. She already had a fear of thunderstorms, and the floods would have confirmed to her that they are scary. It was actually kind of odd how not afraid she's been for this past year. She has, I imagine, been trying to deal with her emotions on her own, and something girls are known for is masking emotions, especially when they've been hurt or scared, to minimize what people see. Apologize to her. Take her to a doctor or a therapist where she can talk to someone about her fears. She came to her parents to ask for help about something that very clearly upsets her, and you laughed at her. You're a huge a-hole. YTA. Put aside the fact that you're not qualified to make that determination. You completely blew off her concerns. She's reaching out for help. I approached my mom at 12 years old concerned that I had depression. She laughed and said only adults have that. Well, I got the formal diagnosis over 15 years later, and it's still something that I can't forgive. I remember how my mom laughed, and you bet your ass your daughter will too. Stay tuned for more stories from our girl relationships.